So we'll jump right into it. And for those that might have a question, yeah, okay. Feel free to submit any questions that you might have for Scarlett. So we'll start off right off the bat. What is the Choose Love movement, and what is the Choose Love formula?
So I started the Choose Love movement following the murder of my 6-year-old son, Jesse McCord Lewis, in his first grade classroom at Sandy Hook Elementary School in December of 2012, when a former student came in and murdered 20 first graders and 6 educators. We're all familiar with that. But I realized that our solution to fixing that. So I literally quit my job and started the Choose Love movement. Jesse had written a message on our kitchen chalkboard shortly before he died. He wrote 3 words: nurturing, healing, love. I knew that if the shooter had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing, love, the tragedy would never have happened. It was pretty simple to me. So I knew that I'd be spreading that message. I knew I had to get that message into schools. I wasn't quite sure how. I did research, was connected to a doctoral professor at Western Connecticut State University. His name is Dr. Chris Cook. He introduced me to social and emotional learning. I started researching it and I thought, wow, this is the solution to school safety, really. Cultivating safety from the inside out of every child by teaching them how to have healthy relationships, how to manage their emotions, how to make responsible decisions, how to grow through difficulty. These are all skills and tools that we're not born with. We have to learn them. And so, we can learn them at home, but if your parents weren't taught these skills and tools, they don't necessarily have them either. So I just became fully submersed in making sure that every child had access to what I know would have saved my son's life. It would have saved the shooter's life, and could reduce and prevent so much of the suffering going forward. And by the way, that includes substance abuse, it includes suicides, it includes a lot of anxiety and mental illness, bullying. Social emotional learning addresses the cause of all of these things, and therefore it is a solution. It's actually really exciting with decades of research behind it. So powerful, powerful enough that I would dedicate my life to this. I do this all day long, every day. So that's what the Choose Love movement is. And the formula is it's basically the foundation of everything that we do, every program that we have. We now have comprehensive lifespan programming. So free, simple lessons that you can learn as a child or as an adult, as part of a family, in any situation, how to thoughtfully respond with love, how to choose love. And that's what we call social emotional intelligence. And so the formula is courage, starts with courage. And it's interesting, courage is the most important character value because it's the one that underlies all the rest. That's a very old quote by Aristotle, I think. And we actually practice courage so much in our lives, and so much of what we do takes courage, but we don't actually realize it. Like things as simple as being kind to others when they're not being kind to us, speaking up, telling the truth, doing the right thing. So that's courage. And then the next character value in this formula, this method to choosing love, is gratitude. And the interesting thing is, and this is, by the way, all backed by science and neuroscience and the latest science and neuroscience, we all have tens of thousands of thoughts as adults every single day that go through our heads, the majority of which are negative and repetitive. That's just the way that we're wired. Our brains were created to keep us alive, not necessarily happy. Right. So with all of these thoughts, we can only focus on one thought at a time. So we can only be focusing on a grateful thought or an angry, hateful, resentful thought, say. So when you're finding yourself in that lower energy space, you can actually think about something that you have to be grateful for. And by the way, I use this formula all day, every day, and it works. Ticking off gratitudes, and they don't have to be big ones, right? You can say, we have running water, which is pretty amazing because a lot of people in the world don't. We can go out and see our latest spring flowers, which is really beautiful. A beautiful sunny day, even a rainy day. We're going to have rain soon. We're grateful for that. Gratitude is really, really important. It takes courage to be grateful when things aren't going your way. Then we move into forgiveness, and this actually strengthens us to consider forgiveness. Now, it's interesting with forgiveness because when I started this whole journey, people told me, "Oh, you want to teach kids about forgiveness?"
Yeah.
That's kind of a lofty topic for kids. And well, that's not a lofty topic. It's their favorite character value. And that may seem surprising and actually kind of blows my mind every time they tell me that. But forgiveness is such an important part of healthy relationships. In fact, Harvard University released a research paper talking about how healthy relationships are the basis of happiness. And the way to get to healthy relationships is through forgiveness. It's so vitally important. And really, a lot of what it does is just give you your personal power back. It's cutting the cord that attaches you to pain. And of course, I received a lot of attention because of my choice to forgive the former student who perpetrated the crime. But in doing that, I was not becoming another victim of his. I was taking my personal power back. And you can do that at any age or stage of your life. And it's very empowering. And then, of course, it takes courage, especially if the person who hurt you isn't sorry, but you can still do it for yourself. It's a gift that you give yourself. And then that moves us into compassion in action. And that is having the courage, literally, to step outside of our own lives, our own busyness going on, even pain, to help other people. And when we've done that, we've thoughtfully responded with love. And one of the other kind of mottos that we have is that you can't always choose what happens to you in life. And wow, isn't that true? None of us would have chosen COVID-19, right? We can't choose what happens to us in life all the time, but we can take our personal power back in how we choose to respond. We can choose our response. And when we choose love in our response, which is kindness, caring, concern, compassion, civility, we take our personal power back. We make the world a better place. When we react with anger, even hatred and revenge, we're giving our personal power away. And that doesn't feel very good.
Very well said, Scarlett. Thank you. I wanted to talk about how children and adults can use the Choose Love formula really in their daily lives.
Absolutely. And this is funny. I see a few of my team members on here saying the formula works because it really does in any situation, circumstance, or interaction. And I've traveled all over the world, spoken to every kind of group you could possibly imagine, introduced this formula. No one's ever raised their hand and said, this formula cannot lead me to choosing love. And you can do this with your families. And right now, so important when everybody's home and everybody's really kind of a little bit grieving the loss of the life that we had, being with friends and family. It's kind of a tough time. So really a wonderful time to introduce the formula to your family. We actually have a free program for families that's literally exploded during this time because everybody's home. There's short, fun videos that you can watch with or without your kids that give you little exercises so that you can practice this. And literally, I think it's really important to understand that you can know these things here, but unless you practice them in your life, it really does you no good. So we've got, I encourage everybody to go onto our website. We have calendars that you can hang on your fridge with little things that you can do every day to thoughtfully respond with love. I practice this formula all day long just by remembering it. You can write it down or you can contact us and we'll send you some bands that actually have the formula on it. This is what kids love to do, to kind of look at their bands and to remember that they can choose love, that they have the skills and tools now in order to do that. And so just by being aware, a lot of this is awareness, and then practice, right? Understanding that courage is like a muscle that you have to practice. And then remembering and reminding each other, hey, I know it's really tough now. I know you can't see your friends and you really want to, but that time is coming very soon. We actually have a date on the calendar, and let's be grateful for that. And let's be grateful for, what we can do, and the fact that we're healthy and we're together as a family. And then forgiveness. I'm sure in tight quarters, there's a need for I forgive you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, that type of thing, and practicing it, and then doing for others. We've seen so many beautiful examples of this of people stepping outside, seeing lots of beautiful signs, thanking the essential workers, and so this actually helps you. That's the interesting thing. You're reaching out to others, but science says that it's actually helping you physically, mentally, and emotionally. That's such a beautiful thing. You're benefiting everyone and the world.
Excellent. You talked about this earlier on in your opening remarks, the social and emotional learning. I was doing some reading up on it. I'm fascinated by this. Can you, and I know you touched upon it a lot, but can you further elaborate on the importance of this learning concept in our society?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I have started to say that social and emotional learning is a basic human right. There is so much research behind the benefits to children that then grow into adults of having these skills and tools. And literally, they're very basic. But if you think about it, we use them in every aspect of our life. It's communication, it's awareness of self and others, it's emotional regulation, being able to identify, label, manage, and express emotions. Gosh, we use that every single day. It is the ability to grow through difficulty. That is a big one, because as human beings, we are going to be faced with roadblocks, challenges, struggles, hardships our entire lives, maybe one after the other. And instead of being taken down by them, social emotional learning gives you the skills, tools, and an attitude to be able to grow through these things. So in other words, not to fear what is coming up and make bad choices, but to actually turn to those difficulties and face them with courage and say, what are the lessons in here for me? That's so important to make responsible decisions. These are just very basic skills and tools. And it was so interesting to me when I realized, well, we're not born with them. We have to learn them. And I was 44 years old when Jesse was murdered. And I realized very quickly during this research, I don't have a lot of these skills and tools. And the interesting thing is, and I'm not that it matters, but I graduated from college. I was for a while an investment banker. I did some bond trading. I was a real estate agent. I've done a lot of different things, but I wasn't socially and emotionally intelligent as I could be. And so I've actually learned so many skills and tools just by helping create this program. And I have to tell you that it has made my life exponentially better. These skills and tools are so important. And research tells us that kids that have these skills and tools get better grades and test scores. They have higher attendance, higher graduation rates. They have less stress and anxiety, less behavioral issues, less mental health issues. It is a statistically effective way to reduce and prevent bullying. And then even later in life, they found that these kids, they're more likely to be, they're almost 50% more likely to be employed by the time that they're 25. They have less incarceration rates, less substance abuse, less mental illness of all kinds, less violence and anger, even less divorce rates. The research is really incredible. If you looked at the research, there would be absolutely no question that every child should receive social and emotional learning in school, and it is absolutely as important as reading, writing, and math. And here's the interesting thing about social emotional learning. When you teach social and emotional learning, kids do better in all of those subjects.
Sure, makes sense. That's just like a positive impact beyond, right? The immediate impact. It's incredible hearing those research examples.
And here's the thing, employers are looking for higher EQ, emotional intelligence, so social emotional intelligence, than IQ. Why? Because the latest research shows that employees that have higher social emotional intelligence are twice as productive. They are more creative, more innovative. They work better together. They're more flexible. They're more solution oriented. I mean, all of these things. Even colleges now are looking less at grades and test scores. So many universities have come to me and said, can you create a program for incoming freshmen? And I used to ask them, why do you want that? And they say, because it's amazing. I mean, there's no doubt that they don't have the social emotional intelligence to either stay in or take advantage of everything that we have to offer.
You mentioned the workplace, and that sort of segues into my next question. You offer a variety of programs with your team. Choose Love at Home, Choose Love for Communities, Champions Choose Love, which is geared towards young athletes. I believe you're working on a Choose Love for the workplace, right? Can you give us some insight into when and how you plan on rolling out that program and introducing that program?
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited about the workplace program. I actually had a former board of director named Jerry Elena who came back to run that division for me, and he's incredibly excited. And it's literally bringing these skills, tools, and attitudes, but more growth mindset, mindfulness, post-traumatic growth, positive psychology, all of these incredible, wonderful things that are a little bit more recent into the workplace. Because literally, you can be an adult, and I'm living proof, and not necessarily have all of these skills and tools. And you can learn them, though. They're easy to teach, easy to learn, and they make such a huge impact on your life, especially with your relationships, with your emotional management. Those are really important concepts, and we have to learn how to do those things. So that is coming for the workplace. And by the way, that is based on popular demand. We've had so much demand for it. But I would say in the meantime, choosing love needs to be a consistent message. And there was never a more important time than now in our history with everything that's going on, including the social unrest. The whole premise of the program is that we're all connected as human beings by the want and need to love and be loved. I mean, we're all the same in that. And actually, it doesn't matter what perceived difference that you have. I mean, whether it's age, where we live, what religion, race, gender, it doesn't matter. We're the exact same in that. And so that's the premise for this program, plus the fact that we can't always choose what happens to us in life. And that's true, but we can always choose how we thoughtfully respond, and we can always respond with love.
Very good point. So my next question is, you endured a tragedy of tremendous magnitude. And my question for that is, how is that helping you navigate these current challenging times, as you mentioned, both with the pandemic and with the social issues that are facing our country?
That's a fantastic question. When you go to you strengthen the relationships that support you. You find meaning in the difficulty, which is really important. And of course, all of this that I'm mentioning is the definition of post-traumatic growth. And that is when we actually grow through difficulty. Everybody knows PTSD. And of course, I probably have a little bit of that. But when you look it up, 7% of the population suffers from PTSD at one point in their time, in their life. and it's probably going to be more now after the pandemic. But the vast majority of us experience something called post-traumatic growth. That's when we grow through difficulty. And this is called mindset. And mindset is so vitally important, just to have the awareness that there are different mindsets out there. There's a fixed mindset, which says, like if you're faced with something like a pandemic, you feel like that's it. There's you are who you are. There's no way to kind of get out of the way or transcend this. It kind of shuts you down. And then there's the growth mindset. When you look at a difficulty or a challenge that comes into your life and you think, okay, well, I've gotten over other difficulties in my life. This is one more challenge. It's a roadblock. I know I'm going to learn things from this. I know I'm going to grow through it. I'm not exactly sure do it right. It looks feasible. Adapt. And I know that that I will be able to get through this. Where's my Choose Love formula? I'm going to use that to help me. And so that, there's a big difference between growth and fixed mindset. And just having that awareness, just the fact that your audience is now going to understand that that is a thing, and to start thinking about what they think about, and to make small, subtle shifts in their understanding that, we used to think that our brain stopped growing at the age of about 25, and it was what it was, and we kind of deteriorated. 50s were going down. Well, thank goodness, because I'm 50 something now. We know now that our brains continue to grow and adapt and change throughout our lives, and we have a lot more power over that whole process than we ever realized. And so if you're out there thinking, oh, this is whatever, I don't think I could do this, all you need is the will and a little bit of effort. And you can go to our website. Everything's free, and it's free. It is very valuable, what we're giving away, but it is free because I knew that this would have saved my son's life. And I know that it can reduce and prevent so much suffering going forward. So for me, every child deserves access, but also every individual. And by teaching they're called essential life skills. We're literally creating the world that we want to live in, which is full of meaning and purpose and peaceful as well.
Essential life skills. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah.
But for those that are joining us, like I said earlier on, feel free to submit a question through the chat box if you'd like Scarlett to answer that. We'll try to get it in the queue there. So talking about COVID-19, can you share some tips or advice to people to help them calm their stress and anxiety and find some peace amidst some of these stressful times?
Absolutely. So I think the most important thing is to understand that there is a space between what happens to us in life and our response. There's actually a beautiful Viktor Frankl quote. Viktor Frankl was a Nazi German concentration camp prisoner who was sent to the camp, and he survived, but he used it as an experiment. He watched people who had everything taken from them except for one thing, and that was their ability to choose how they responded, even in that terrible situation. So if you refer that back to us, we also have the power to choose how we thoughtfully respond. And so there's what happens. And so let's say that's COVID-19, that's our stimulus. And then there's our response. Now, our brains are wired to react. A lot of us we're outside of our comfort zone. We're kind of, some of us, and I've seen this personally, in survival mode. That's when you feel like, you're fighting for your life. But in reality, our world is going to go on. We want to work from our prefrontal cortex. which is where our logic and reasoning reside. We want to make decisions from that area and not from our freeze, fight, or flight area, right? You may see some people, really acting very defensive and angry. And that's where we are when we work from our freeze, fight, or flight area in our brain. But using this space enables us to access our prefrontal cortex, where logic and reasoning reside. I don't know about you, PJ, but that's where I want to make decisions from. So you have this pandemic that happens, and then you have your thoughtful response, but there's a space in there. And so really practicing being present in the moment, remembering like, oh my God, all this is going on. And I've had these thoughts too, like, what am I going to do with this foundation? How are we going to remain funded? This is even more important now. Am I going to be able to make my mortgage payment? I mean, I don't know, all these things come in, right? And the important thing is, this is a practice. You can go, wait a minute, take a deep breath. Breathe in love. For what in the present moment, right here, right now, I'm safe and I'm okay. Everything's okay right now in the present moment. So it is not fearing for the future. It's not ruminating over the past, but it's being really present. And that actually gives you some control to be able to thoughtfully respond. And that's kind of my little trick. I actually practiced that before Jesse's murder. So even that day and the days following that, I would use this practice a lot. And I would try my best to model for my surviving son at 12 years old what a thoughtful response in love would look like, because I knew that I was teaching him in the moment how to handle difficulty, challenges, tragedy, going forward. And you know what? The important thing is that's what we're doing right now. You're a model. If you're a parent, you're modeling for your family. If you're a community member, Chamber of Commerce, you all are modeling for your community how to thoughtfully respond to difficulty in everything that you do. And it's not just verbal. It's not just words. Words are only 40% of how we communicate. It's everything that we do, including our actions. And so using the power of that present moment to be able to thoughtfully respond here gives you your control back, but it also lets you remember, wait a minute, like even in the moment, even if you're at your house and you're facing difficulty there, somebody's really annoying you, you go, you know what? I am modeling, I'm teaching my kids, my husband, my community, how to thoughtfully respond with love. What does that look like in the moment? And guess what that does? That helps us be our best self when we do that. And so that's kind of a little trick that I try to use. It's not a trick, it's actually a skill that you practice. And it's something that I try to do every single day.
That's excellent advice. All right, so we just got a question in here. Michael, thanks for submitting something. This program is so useful. Thank you, Michael. Especially with the George Floyd movement. Do you have any other social organizations such as Black Lives Matters interested in the program? Less hate, more love, and understanding.
Actually, yes, we were just introduced to the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm really excited to start a discussion, because this is, what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that we're all the same in the want and need to love and be loved, and to proliferate that message in our society, and then to also give the skills and tools to be able to thoughtfully respond with love and to see each other with love. That's what we're all about. So, this is a very popular message right now. It was a very popular message following the school shooting, and then the subsequent school shootings. This is the number one way, by the way, to keep our kids safe. And when I say that, sometimes people go, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What about all the external safety measures that schools are doing? Well, unfortunately, I mean, they're very important, and I'm not taking away the importance, but the number one way to keep a school safe is to have a kind, caring, compassionate, loving culture. because when you have that loving culture, that can precede and prevent a grievance that can lead to an attack from ever happening. Or if a grievance does happen in a school, and I'm talking about the pathway to violence, this gives not only the students, but the teachers as well, skills and tools to mitigate that violence. So it's the number one way to not only have safe schools, but homes, communities, workplaces, by cultivating safety from the inside out of every individual. That's addressing the cause. And that's really what we want to be doing. And for a long time, we've been addressing the issues all around. And when you address the issue itself, you focus on it, and what you focus on grows. And unless you're addressing the cause of these things, and I'm talking about school safety, I'm talking about substance abuse, a lot of the mental illness and anxiety, I'm talking about bullying, suicide. Unless you address the cause, you can't be talking about a solution. And that's what we're doing right now.
Thank you. Well said. Thanks again for that question, Michael. So June is a special month for you. It's Jesse's birthday. How will you be honoring him this year?
So every year we've tried to do something to honor his life. One of his last messages, his last message to his big brother, who was 12 years old at the time of his murder, and that he found on his desk all tightly folded up, was literally have a lot of fun. So we try to incorporate that into everything that we do, into all of our programming, and absolutely into the celebrations that we throw. Last year we had John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band actually in Danbury. That was a huge celebration. And this year we're actually going online, which won't be a surprise to anybody. And we're going to have a whole day of events, of speakers, of music. And the amazing thing is we've had this program out for 4 years. It's now being taught in every state and 100 countries. In some states, it's the most taught SEL program. And so you can imagine in 4 years, we've had videos, we've had scripts, we've had poems, we've had pictures, all this incredible feedback, actually, that we incorporate into an email every single day called the Daily Dose of Love. You want a daily dose of love first thing in your email box? Sign up for our Daily Dose of Love. But we're going to incorporate some of that feedback into that day just to celebrate how far we've come in 7 years, to celebrate the movement that Jesse started with his chalkboard message of nurturing, healing, love. It is really incredible. And also his example of courage. Jesse saved 9 of his classmates that day before losing his own life. And that story has really transformed some people's lives. And we've actually known of students and adults whose lives we've even saved. And so that is the courage and the gratitude and the forgiveness and the compassion in action. It literally is a method that can bring you to taking your personal power back in your life. And when you don't have control of something in your life, and I know a lot of people right now during COVID-19 feel like they don't have control. And when you feel like you don't have control, you feel anxious. You feel afraid, very fearful, and maybe even angry. And really, the only way that I know to take your personal power back is through your thoughtful response and through choosing love. And this formula is a way that you can do that. So this is going to be a huge celebration of that. If you want to learn more, do more, you can go to our website, chooselovemovement.org. The way that we're spreading this message is literally the definition of a movement. We literally have ambassadors all across the country that are volunteering. We have ambassadors in maybe 15 states now, I believe, and also different countries. They want to be part of the solution. They understand the value of this. They're bringing this a lot of times to their own children's schools and then to other schools, their own homes, other homes, and communities. We've got an incredible community program as well. So I just encourage everybody to go on and be part of the solution. You know, it feels really good when you're at home watching TV, listening to what's going on in our world in the news. It can seem very overwhelming and you feel like, well, there's nothing that I can do. But actually there is something that you can do. And we are a place where everyone can come together. It does not matter what, initially what your feeling was on guns or no guns or what your political party is. It absolutely doesn't matter. We're all united in the want and need to love and be loved. And that is what this movement is about. So it's a place where everyone can come together to do something to be part of the solution.
Excellent. Thank you, Scarlett. So again, really thank you for all that you do, not just for our community, but as you mentioned, the country and really the world as a whole with the Choose Love movement. It's clearly having just a tremendous positive impact in our society. And I applaud you and the entire team at Choose Love Movement, who I've been chatting with leading up to our conversation, who are incredibly dedicated to the cause and just so committed to creating a very safe and more loving community. So thank you again for taking time out. Really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you for those that joined us today. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to chat. I wanted to take a shout out to the team at the Chamber for helping put these chats together and getting information out to all of our members and businesses and community partners. We've got a couple webinars coming up at the end of the week. We got one tomorrow and then another Chamber chat on Friday. So I hope to welcome everyone back for those conversations. I hope everyone stays safe, stays healthy, and don't forget, choose love. Thank you, Scarlett. Take care.
Thank you so much.